Alrighty, welcome back to the Adolescence of a Bookworm anime review, episode number 7. Yes, we are reviewing the last episodes released for season 1. And the plan is there's an OVA I'm going to do next, and afterwards I'm going to start working on Slayers, which that will happen today. As for how much I get through with it today, I don't know. The first season's 26 episodes. Yeah, 26. And I'll try to go through as quickly as I can before I get back to Ninjanger. So, in the case, these last 2 episodes. So, okay, so the last 2 episodes of the season covered, 13 covered chapters 20 to 23 of book 3. And the final, actually, like first half of chapter 23, and the final episode kind of in a way covered the rest of book 3. But the weird thing is, chapter 7 wasn't adapted for the season. I don't know why. It's weird. It is by far one of the most weirdest things related to the series. So, so basically all about going for books, because she's very curious about them. And then she explains basically that she, wanted to work for them because she wanted access to the books. And then, of course, basically that she touched, she was asked by Lude to take her to the church to talk to them about this. And then the whole thing that the apprentice priestess come up and then touch a goblet, which apparently has got lots of mana, and then go visit basically Benno, who explains the whole thing. Because at first, she explains it to her parents, the whole thing at the apprentice priestess, the fact that they think it's just for orphans because of the whole grade thing. And of course, then he explains to Benno. Benno explains that there's actually 2 different types of priests. There's blue priests and gray priests. Gray priests are basically orphans. The blue priests come from the nobility. Apparently there was like a purge in the capital, which I'm like, wow. Interesting. By the way, there's no new products introduced in these episodes because normally they use these new products. So, she can kind of get Princess Priestess, but we need to have 3 particular negotiations. Also, I didn't have to know she's frail. She has to keep business, and she provided money. Okay. And of course, she registers her business with the guild, though Frida basically suggests the whole maybe new culinary things. Like, why not have a sample party? Cool, have a sample party with pound cakes. People do basically the way she describes it with the whole thing of sample party. The way they do it, it's like an audience analysis, how they feel about the pound cakes. Okay, fine. And so they still get the business anyways. So, and of course, offering a place for the orphans to work, which that's quite interesting. And then, of course, they get invitation. Well, she gets the invitation to her parents about, of course, they have some particular demands. And then they go visit. But by the way, when she first gets there, she gets a chance to see Infernoland. That's the guy, the blue priest, who technically appeared in episode 1, but his first contract appearance actually was in episode 12. And she gets a chance in his lap while reading a book, like, oh, go turn on new stuff. And that led to the whole thing with the goblet. So then, of course, basically, then the high priest meets basically Mine's parents and has a very dumb reaction. It's like, these are my parents. Father is a soldier and mother is a text worker. And because basically of his attitude, he wants to force her to take away Mine from her parents. Gunther proceeds to beat the crap out of the priest. Like, he basically beats up a few of them. It's like, oh, here's a whole army of them. Like, you gonna take them on? Mine, getting very upset with this, proceeds to activate her mana and nearly try to use a force choke on the freaking high priest because he's strangling, basically using her power to nearly strangle him. But looking at Ferdinand, the other head priest, he basically calms her down, says, if you kill him, then your parents will die. Both of them, not just your father, your mother will die too. So, then of course, basically, the whole thing is forgiven, because he was being a jerk. Because he's also, well, he's basically antagonizing them because, because they're not nobles. So, she negotiates, she comes up basically to become basically, well, they do point the fact that she can't do the regular work the other priests can do because she's got a frail body, which perfectly understandable. She gets become a blue priest, not a gray priest, a blue priest, and settles the situation there. And of course, Turi basically is like very worried about her parents, sisters, or anything happened to them. Of course, she comes home, gives a hug. Lude's there too, and well, that's kind of it. That's what happens over the course of 2 episodes, which, excuse me, so basically we're going to get the whole next story arc, which, by the way, took up 4 books of the light novels, and it's going to be adapted over the course of the next 2 seasons of the show. Which, when I did a little research about it, apparently after season 3 of the show, the original studio who made the show, for some reason, they decided to switch studios after 3 seasons. Yep, they did. Don't know the reason for it, but they did. So, the original studio who made this show, who made the first 3 seasons, is a studio known as Ajado Animation Works. They're the ones who made the show. They did the first 3 seasons of the show. And get this. So they started back in 1978. But the first work they released was, and this might surprise you, they apparently were a studio that they were outsourced to work on this popular 80s cartoon. A show known as The Real Ghostbusters. So they're like, really? They worked at Real Ghostbusters? Yeah, they were an outsourced studio for it. In 1986. I'm like, the outsourced were for DCI Entertainment. So I'm like, why the heck did it take 8 freaking years to release the first work? And then they work on a show called Miracle Girls. Their shows, one is still apparently still airing, is Nama Rentaro, which is still airing. It's a comedy that's been airing since 1993. And it's Switch Studios. Switch Networks after a year. You're like, what? Oh yeah, and they've aired over 2,000 episodes. And I keep thinking Ace Lewis is the longest, but damn! 93! Okay, here's the other shows. Wakarobe, Kinutsuko Tori, Mamaji Nin Femaja Katsutori, Absolute Boy, Kabaja Obelix, Emma, a Victorian Romance Second Act, DD Fist of North Star, probably another series, Fist of North Star series, Hakuto no Ken Enjo Achi, Izeta the Last Witch. They did the first season of How to Not Demon Lord, which I have seen, great show. I kind of wish they did season 3 of that one. They apparently for season 2 they switched studios. You're like, really? They switched studios? Yes! For some weird reason they switched studios with season 2. Yeah. Well, apparently one of the episodes they yeah, it owns our Kazato Mato Momoji ne Famaji Katsutsori. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Kameno Enji. This is 2021. Revenge or Science Fiction. Some of you may have heard this one because it's airing right now. From Bureaucrat to Villainous, Dadsby Reincarnated. And Yonokan no Futsu no Hibiki. Yep, that is another show they worked on, which is airing soon, and they worked on several movies. Kako Cafe, which was released in 1990, probably the second thing they worked on. They probably worked on movies for a couple of years. Yeah, and this show here was one of the more longer shows they worked on. Like, aside from the comedy, this is probably one of the few shows that last more than a couple of years that they had their hands on. But looking forward to seasons 2 and 3. Of course, next basically will be, of course, the OVA, and then I'll be just putting this on hold for a bit. I am going to come back to it definitely, but it'll be after my next end of the series to work on. Because right at the OVA, the very next thing we'll work on is Slayers. Because I have been recommended this show by many people, one of whom basically worked on the show, or work on the English dub, which I'll talk about that. Look at Slayers after the next video, okay? So please be sure okay, so that's pretty much a particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, the last video right now for the adolescence of a bookworm, and then it's on the Slayers, okay? Next video. Bye.